Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home. Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief podcast brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I'm joined, as always, by Scott, Kathleen, and Phil. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hi guys.
Welcome aboard again, guys.
Again.
Here we are. So we're still on the Disneyland train. If you've been listening for the past couple of weeks, we started talking about Disneyland, and we just had too much to say. So we're on part 3 of our Disneyland conversation. This might be the last episode. We don't know. We won't know until we see how much
Hey,
we
we're
say,
not even
but-
taking a super deep dive, are we? Like, we're just glossing over everything Disneyland has to offer, and we're on part 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you think about it, we have like an entire podcast. We talk every week about Disney World, and now we're like trying to cram Disneyland into these like short little segments, and it deserves it deserves
It
its
does.
moment in the sun, guys. It really
You're not-
does.
Are you missing it a little bit by talking about it? Like, don't you want to go back?
Yes, I would love to go back.
What?
I do. I want to go back, but I want to go back as like a pit stop on the way to Alani, and I feel like that makes me a bad person.
Oh, Scott, that's not what makes you a bad person.
Well, we can't talk about that on the family-friendly podcast.
I hate to break it to you, but there is also a transient tax at Alani.
I'm willing to pay it.
So just prepare yourself.
The good
That's
news is
fine.
we left off at a great transition point, and that transition point was Small World, because after you walk past Small World, you get into that, I will call it, abomination known as Mickey's Toontown, the site of more YouTubed family fights and arrests than I think anywhere else at Disneyland.
I
thought
that
it was
kind of
cute.
hurts me, Phil. I thought you would be in love with Mickey's Toontown. Because I was. I loved everything about it back there. The Mickey's house, the Minnie's house. You can go do the meet and greets. I love Roger Rabbit. So for there to be a ride back there. And I really loved Walt's Dreaming Tree.
My issue with it was that it felt so closed in with so many people that I got a little over peopled there and a little claustrophobic. I felt like it didn't lend itself to the rest of the theme of Disneyland. And in my defense, I did not do Roger Rabbit's Toontown Spin because Emily took Mackenzie on that particular ride while I gave my fast pass to my niece and nephew for something else.
I think it's definitely the part that's like the least memorable. But it did have the fountain back there. That's where Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is.
Mm-hmm.
So, they have the fountain back there that they did. It's pretty cool. The Walt's Dreaming Tree, which is a pretty cool story. But I don't know. I thought it was cool. I liked everything about it, but it was all right.
Daisy has her own quick service.
Yeah, well, Daisy's Cafe. It's adorable, and they have a drink that I got there that I think it's like that watermelon. It was like a watermelon iced
Mhm.
lemonade, I think, and it was delicious. I loved it. It was great on a hot day.
I think that's where the kids got their little picnic baskets.
Mm-hmm.
I think that land is a perfect example of a spot that when it's crowded, it's not enjoyable.
It was
I've been
intolerable.
back there when it's both crowded and I've turned around and said, okay, I don't need to be back here. But on this last trip, it was not very crowded at all. And it is adorable when you can actually see the things and not just the sea of people. And I sat over there by Daisy's Cafe and I drank my watermelon lemonade and people watched, and it's cute. And I mean, I It was the first time that I had ridden the Roger Rabbit ride, which was really cute and fun. And I think that, I mean, yes, you can see why it is like such an Instagrammable spot because it does look really cute in pictures and videos. It's certainly not someplace like you want to spend all of your time, but I think it's really cute back there if you're not being trampled by people.
Maybe that
Think
was my problem. It was so busy back there when we were there that I had to go find a spot on a wall to sit somewhere because you couldn't even move. It was elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder, and people were losing kids and it was screaming. And I suddenly understood why so many fights happened back there.
think your local fair, like your county fair, and they have the kiddie land, and the parents buy the ride bracelets for the kids, and everybody just kind of congregates back there, and
Yeah.
it gets really overpopulated. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
I will tell you right now, and we will have this conversation on a different day about Epic Universe, but if you do not like Mickey's Toontown Fair, then you better not set foot into Super Mario Land because you will want to lose your mind. But we can talk about that next week.
I was going to say we may be foreshadowing next week's episode.
Yeah.
Assuming we make
Maybe.
it through Disneyland this week.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
We're 5 minutes in already. There's going to be a part 4.
But let's get into the main attractions that are the things that, when you are a Walt Disney World person and you go to Disneyland, the things that are going to be like the obvious things that you're going to compare, which are Frontierland, Tomorrowland, Adventureland. I mean, we already talked about Fantasyland, and we don't need to talk about Galaxy's Edge because they are literally
The
identical
same.
in Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom. I mean, they are 100% like they took a cookie cutter and were like, boom, boom, same exact land.
How
So
did that go again, Amy?
boom, boom,
Oh, if only y'all could see
boom,
what we're seeing
boom,
on
boom.
screen.
Let's go back to my room. Remember that song?
Nope.
Sorry. Had a little
No.
had a little trip back to the early 1990s right there.
All right, so just to pick one, let's go into Frontierland / Critter Country going into Disneyland because there's a lot of compare and contrast there.
Well, one thing that is definitely better in Frontierland in Disneyland is the chimichanga cart. They don't have that in Disney World, and it is so dang good in Disneyland. That breakfast chimichanga is delicious. But I think you were probably talking more about Big Thunder Mountain Railroad than you were about the chimichangas.
Big Thunder, and I'm just going to call it Splash because I think it was so much better as Splash, but the two of them are markedly different while at the same time being very similar. So, yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about Big Thunder and Splash / Tiana's and just the whole feeling there.
So I'll start off with Tiana's that we did not ride because
It was identical.
we wanted to ride stuff that we knew we couldn't at Disney World. So we didn't even ride Tiana's. But as far as Big Thunder, Scott and I disagree on this. So I personally like Disney World's Big Thunder better.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. Scott is right.
Thank you. No explanation needed.
It's fine.
I don't even have a reason why. I just think does it go backwards?
It's the opposite way.
And not backwards, but the opposite
It's
direction.
the opposite way. They've got, I think, a little better theming feel. I don't want to say it's more themed. I just feel like it flows a little better than Walt Disney World's does, though I will be very curious to see after the refurb what changes are made there. And I feel that it fits better in its section of the park than it does at Walt Disney World. It's just kind of stuff back in the corner. And I think even more so now with the rivers being shut down, I feel like Frontierland has much more of a realistic frontier feel overall at Disneyland. So I think that lends to the ride having a better feel for it.
Yeah, I like what you said, the flow of the actual, like everything, the ride itself. I like that. And if anybody's going to come back and say that they like the queue better at Disney World, I completely disagree with that because
Wait a minute. Ease off on Barnabas T. Bullion and the Adventurers Club. Okay, so there's the Society of yeah. You're maybe crossing the line here, buddy. I was with you for a minute, so be careful.
like I get it, but I think that queue is one of the worst. When it's 115 degrees outside, I think that's got to be one of the worst queues that there is. But,
It is brutal.
but I would, if I'm going to compare the two, I had to give a slight nod to Disneyland Big Thunder.
I vote for the Disneyland Big Thunder also. I prefer it. I think that the storyline is it's like almost you can like almost follow the story better in the Disneyland one. And I love at the end how like you which either they don't have it at Disney World or it's set too far back to notice it. But those like little house fronts at the end of the ride that you go by, they look like little buildings. I think that they're like I don't know, it again feels like more of an actual place than the one in Disney World.
And I think it's a sense of setting. Think about walking into Frontierland at Disneyland, and you've just got that desert type arid feel, and you've got what's the restaurant there on the right hand side as you walk in? It begins with a Z. It just
Oh,
feels Casa de Zuccola or whatever it is. It feels like you could be walking into a mining town. So as you get to Big Thunder and you get into the queue, it just feels like that whole storyline of the entire land flows better versus walking past this kind of waterfront place in Walt Disney World with some log cabins and then this strange mountain with a giant splash into Big Thunder. I just think that the theming of it and the flow of the storyline through Frontierland just makes Big Thunder seem like a better ride, even if they're very similar one against the other.
and to talk just briefly about Critter Country, I did not ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Disneyland, but I did ride it when it was Splash Mountain, and to me, the Walt Disney World version was hands down like superior
But I like their ride vehicles.
at Disneyland.
Yeah, it didn't feel like you were crammed two by two by two versus having the one behind the other. It just felt like kind of a more interesting ride. But I completely agree that I think the whole ride, the queue, the everything at Walt Disney World is much better executed.
Yeah, and if I had had time and I was just the thing is that I got so wet on Tiana's Bayou Adventure into Walt Disney World that I don't want to get that wet on a ride. I'm okay with getting like
Yeah.
splashed, but I do not want to be like as if I just dunked my clothes into a tub of water. And so I did not ride it at Disneyland for that reason because I was afraid that that was going to happen. But I'm curious to know if you can feel the difference in the two rides because the ride tracks were different, I think, between the two parks.
Cindy mentioned it, and she got soaked, like dripping, like she needed to probably change her clothes. Um, but I think that's another reason why we didn't ride it because it wasn't hot, and I didn't want it to be soaked and
Well, I was going to say in Florida you're going to dry off in 5 minutes,
but the one time that when we weren't with Cindy and Joe and Jessica, they did ride it. And I think when we met up with them a few hours later, they were still wet. Like their clothes were still wet.
I'll see you that and raise you us getting hammered on Tiana's Bayou Adventure in January this year.
Ugh,
Oh gosh, were we cold.
but yeah, we didn't do that one.
All right, so Adventureland, because I have a very, very distinct opinion on Adventurelands compared.
Oh, this is going to be good. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I want to hear it.
Are we talking about pirates? Is that what we're talking about?
We can talk about pirates. We can talk about Jungle Cruise. We can talk about Indiana Jones. We can talk about the Dole Whips outside of the Tiki Birds. I have a very, very distinct opinion on which is better. And technically, Pirates is not Adventureland in Disneyland, but
Well,
that's okay.
Well, as far as Indiana Jones, I thought it was a pretty cool ride.
Whoa, back up a second. Wait, you went on Indiana Jones and you thought it was a cool ride, but you don't like dinosaur.
Yeah,
Okay,
hold
I
up.
already know this. It's just like this track. First of all, it's a dinosaur. Okay, that's what scares me. It's not the actual ride. It's the damn dinosaur.
I
I
thought it
don't
was the
like
ride
it.
vehicle, and they're exactly the
No,
same.
no, it's the dinosaur.
So you'll be more inclined to ride that when they potentially change it over to Animal Kingdom?
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah. I thought the theming of Indiana Jones was pretty amazing. Like I thought they did a really good job with that.
How long did you wait in line? Because that's my one hit on that is if it's a long line, that queue goes on forever.
We had
We lightning
we
landed.
like we had a lightning lane.
It's brutal. It's
looks
interactive and it's
brutal.
fun, but it is brutal.
Yeah, it looks
Think
brutal.
the inside of what's the silly boat ride in Animal Kingdom that's escaping me at the moment?
Navi River?
At
River
Navi
Journey.
River. Think of the inside portion of that, except it goes on for about 47 miles.
Mm.
Well, you still have to walk through that when you do lightning lane. You're
Yeah.
just not shoulder to shoulder with
Mhm.
strangers like stuck in one spot for a while.
With no air circulation if it's hot. It's tough.
I think that I love dinosaur. I think like the concept behind dinosaur is great. I love the storyline. I love and I'm like a Dinoland USA fan. But I think that Indiana Jones, what they did with the interior of that ride, it is so cool. I mean, it feels like massive. Like you have just entered into this massive, like the inside of this temple, and it is so cool. So like
It's
that, like
cavernous.
there's an awe factor that Indiana Jones has that Dinosaur does not.
Yeah. I thought that was a really cool ride. I'm glad we went on it because I know Cindy had mentioned that it goes down a lot, like multiple times a day. So,
Oh, it did.
and yeah, and actually it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were watching it. But
I agree with everything you guys said. I mean, when Cindy first mentioned, I didn't know anything about Indiana Jones. She said something about Indiana Jones, and I was like, oh, like another show, like
yeah.
Hollywood Studios, and I never even realized that it was a ride. But that was one of my favorite things that we did.
Hmm.
I love it. I'm a huge Indiana Jones as a kid, watching all the movies and stuff. So to be able to go in and see that whole entire how they themed it and just the ride experience itself, I thought it was really cool. But hands down, that is major plus for Disneyland.
All right, how about right next door, Jungle Cruise?
I'm a Disneyland Jungle Cruise stan.
I really I don't have a preference. I'm not really a big Jungle Cruise fan. So
We're done.
either one's fine.
I feel so bad because I know this is like Phil's favorite thing, but I'm like, I really don't care about Jungle Cruise.
I
I'm
love
so
the
sorry.
corny jokes. I love the music and the ride queue. And I just think that their facade with the 2 levels and going through the building is much cooler. I think that the general flow of Disneyland's is much cooler. I feel like I love Walt Disney World's, and I still feel like it's an also ran compared to Disneyland's.
I mean, we rode it and
And that's all I have to say about that. We wrote
no,
it.
go ahead.
No, I what I was gonna say is that I think that in some ways, like the scale of Walt Disney World is, is to its benefit in some regards. But I think that in others, the smaller nature of Disneyland works to its favor. And I think for Jungle Cruise, that is one of those rides where I feel like, or and not even just Jungle Cruise, but Adventureland in and of itself, because it feels like this kind of narrow, like you really are winding through the roads of this, wherever you are, use your imagination to place yourself in whatever made up jungle area you imagine yourself to be, and it feels like you're just in this like small kind of windy jungle town, and then you go onto Jungle Cruise and you go up the stairs and you're like walking through this building that feels like a legit building, and you take this ride that feels like it's part of the lore of this little town that you just walked through. And whereas in Disney World, Jungle Cruise is like down these steps and over to the side, and it's across from that what used to be the thing where you drive the boats or whatever. It doesn't feel as there's like it lacks a little bit of what the kind of like a mystique because it's larger in Disney World and it being on a smaller scale in Disneyland, it feels more lush, it feels more hidden, it feels more mysterious. So I think that overall, like Adventureland just has like a different feel in Disneyland than it does in Disney World. And I think it strictly has to do with the size of the two areas.
I unequivocally agree. Unequivocally agree with that. And it goes back to the same thing we said about Adventureland. Their theming is so much better taking you through the lands that it truly feels like the rides belong there and they're part of the storyline. I don't have to walk by the stupid Aladdin's flying carpets in order to get on Jungle Cruise.
Well, I think that, I mean, granted, they did turn Splash Mountain into Tiana's Bayou Adventure there as well. But I think that Disneyland has done a much better job of not falling prey to needing IP everywhere. I feel like it's still kind of true to the origins that Walt created at Disneyland without feeling like they need to be slapping IP all over the place.
Completely agree. And I think the shops are so much cooler in Adventureland. And then getting your Dole Whip under this little covered walkway that goes up, and then being able to sit amongst all the tiki statues waiting for the tiki birds versus just like this strange walkway that goes up where, there's the birds and they talk and there's like one statue up front. They just theme it so much better. It just, the sense of place, you were truly immersed and surrounded by it versus it's just one little ride or one little section that they're theming that doesn't necessarily fit the greater whole.
Well, and that's definitely how I feel about the what is it called? New Orleans Square
New Orleans Square.
in with where you have pirates and you have the the Blue Bayou restaurant and all of those shops back there. I mean, that area is so cool.
And that little alley that goes down feels
Yeah.
exactly like being in the French Quarter.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Epcot feel.
Where like you're walking through these like little streets and going into these storefronts and I mean, it's just I mean, that's you've got Haunted Mansion over there, like that whole area over there just feels like you said it perfectly, Phil. It's like a sense of place. And I love it.
You ate over there. You ate over there, didn't you?
Yeah.
At Tiana's?
The little quick service there where they had the gumbo and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts was the New Orleans Square.
So while we're there, let's talk about the two big attractions.
Oh, boy.
I'll start off with Haunted Mansion. I personally like Walt Disney World's better.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I don't know. Totally. I agree. I don't know why, but
I'm fully on board, but I'm withholding that judgment until I see the sight lines from the queue in a couple of years. My opinion may change based on what they do with Rivers of America and how that affects how you feel in that queue next to Liberty Square and Tom Sawyer Island. But yes, as of right now, I'll still take Walt Disney World's.
that's what I was going to say. Just the fact that it looks better in Walt Disney World, that's what I was going to say. But that might completely change shortly.
I love that at Disney World, it feels like this is like this mansion set up on a hill. Like it really has like this kind of creepy
Yeah.
feel to it. Whereas I appreciate at Disneyland how it fits into the architecture of the rest of the land. Like it's thematically consistent, but it doesn't feel as creepy, I think, as the one at Walt Disney World. And it's fun to have a little bit of that creepy factor, especially at night. The one at Walt Disney World at nighttime, I think when you're a kid, it might make you a little nervous. Like then
You're
you
buried
ride
in
it
that
and you
corner.
realize that it's totally fine, but it is a little intimidating at nighttime if you're a kid to be approaching that area. So
I'm trying so hard so hard with rivers going because we all know how I feel about this, but I've always thought that one of the coolest things about Haunted Mansion at Walt Disney World is that regardless of where you are, whether you're coming out of Fantasyland by Memento Mori's, whether you're coming through Liberty Square up by the brick paved walkways, or you're looking from across the river and coming up the boardwalk, it fits from almost every single sight line. And I'm a little nervous that that's going to change, but we'll see.
And there's something very cool about the fact that it's up on that hill perched over the water. Like even from Tom Sawyer Island, it's like you get this kind of feeling that you're on this island and across the water is this like scary place, that seems like what's the creepy mansion across the river.
Yep, completely.
Yeah.
Okay, now the big one. Let's hear it. Pirates.
Go ahead.
This is no competition for me. Pirates and Disneyland was far superior. Just better ride, more. It's longer, more rooms, more. I just thought everything about it. I love kind of riding through and seeing the what was the name of that place again? Blue Bayou.
Yeah.
Blue Bayou. Yeah, it's got a very much like Three Caballeros feel as you go by the restaurant.
Yes. But I felt like hands down it was Disneyland for the win with Pirates.
I like the end of Pirates at Disneyland, how they like made it look like, what was it, like the pirate ship was that crashed into all up at the top up there. I thought that was pretty cool. But I like Disney World's better. Other than
Amy,
that
I
one
know
part.
you're a fellow Pirates junkie like me. Where do you stand?
So this one is tough for me because I feel like the queue for Pirates being outside at Disneyland takes away from the overall attraction. And the queue at Disney World is just so iconic that it that to me is part of the ride. And it actually is. Like what's so cool to me about the Disney World ride is that the storyline that you're getting once you get on the boat in Disneyland is the storyline that you're getting as you walk through the queue in Disney World. So I do appreciate that the Disneyland ride is longer, but in terms of just like the total immersion of the experience, I have to give it to Disney World because the switchbacks outside at Disneyland to me take away from the overall immersion of the experience. The There to me is like one of the most immersive rides in all of Disney parks that I've been to is Pirates, and it's because the second you step into that queue, into that building, it just feels like you can be in that line and not feel like you're in line, and at Disneyland you're in that
Yeah.
line and it can feel brutal, and especially if it's long. Like you're just in those switchbacks outside and it kind of breaks it breaks the storyline for me.
That's what I said. Yep.
So let me just, before I answer, Amy, ride for ride, if we take the line queue out of the equation, where do you stand one versus the other?
Once you get onto the boat, once you're in the ride vehicle, I think it's Disneyland. But I think if you're taking the entire experience from the moment you set foot in the queue, it's Disney World.
So I'm actually with Amy on this one because if you ask me just to rate the ride, I think Disneyland has a much better attraction in the ride. But what threw me with Disneyland is that of all the things we just said about how Disneyland has a sense of place for everything, Pirates is kind of the outlier on this. It's a really cool entrance. You go under the walkway, the big pirate sign is there, but it doesn't really fit in the sense of place for where it is. It doesn't look like a Pirates the Caribbean ride.
Well, it doesn't make sense that you're like basically walking into one of these like antebellum style mansions and then you're getting onto a boat.
Right, and, like, I get, like, they tried to make the whole Jean Lafitte reference there, but it still doesn't make sense to me. Some of my most incredible childhood nostalgia memories of Pirates aren't actually on the ride. They're in the line queue. It's the armory and going through all of that and the smells and the chains and Castillo del Moro. I feel like if we're comparing ride queue, it's Disney World hands down all day long. I feel like we're truly comparing ride to ride. I don't think Disney World holds a candle to Disneyland. It was so much better executed. It's longer, the drops are better, the scenes are better. I think Disneyland's is hands down a better ride. If they had Disney World's queue and Disneyland's ride, it would hands down be the winner. But you're right, Amy. The line queue makes a huge difference in
Yeah.
setting up that story.
That's why I said I like Disney World's better. And also, when we rode it in Disneyland, there was no smell. Nothing.
No bromide in the water.
Nothing. And that just ruined it for me. That's part of the experience for me on Pirates because I love all the different smells and I love the queue. So when I don't have either of those, I'm like, no.
My
rather
car
have Disney
freshener
World.
is pirate water. No word of a lie.
Yeah, there was absolutely no smell.
And in 2 weeks, down here, you get a Pirates pub or tavern
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
to kind of boost the theming a little bit.
All right.
Go
30
get some
minutes and
rum
we're
and
still
then get
going.
on the boat.
Strike your feathers.
Well, let's talk about Space Mountain.
Oh,
Yeah, we can go over
Heading
just
over to
Tomorrowland in general. We can talk Space
Tomorrowland.
Mountain because I do have a couple of digs on Tomorrowland, same as I do on Walt Disney World.
so Space Mountain at Disney World, I don't go on very much, mainly because I don't feel that comfortable in the ride. We rode it at Disneyland and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing. I think it is 1,000 times better than Disney World's. And I love how the seat is not,
There's space.
there's
No-
space
no-
to
no
sit.
pun
I don't
intended.
feel like I'm stuck in the ride and I can't get out of it. Because I have felt that way many times. And I thought it was amazing.
We got off the ride and we kind of did like a double take at each
I'm
other,
like,
and we're like, "Did we just ride Space Mountain?"
wow.
That was
And I loved it.
really, really cool.
The
Yeah.
entrance is better. The ride vehicle is better. They also pump the music directly into the ride vehicle, which sounds silly, but it makes a huge difference. Yeah, hands down, Space Mountain at Disneyland over Disney World. I don't think it's a competition. Amy?
100%. I'm going with Disneyland. It is also just a much smoother ride. It's just a far more pleasant ride experience than the one at Disney World from start to finish.
And we love Disney World Space Mountain. We go on with the kids every single trip. I get the whole discomfort. I understand the herky-jerky motion of it. I have no argument with that. We still love it. So I'm not bashing Disney Worlds. We will still go on it multiple times every trip. But given the choice between the two, it's not even a competition.
No, and that's the difference. Like Space Mountain at Disney World could be 5 minutes and I still won't go on it.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I agree with that.
I don't care if it's a walk on or not. I'm not going on it.
I have a knock on Tomorrowland for Disneyland, and it's the people mover.
Or the lack
fact
thereof.
Yeah, it's the fact that the structure is there and they kept it up. And to me, that is just such an iconic thing that I feel like needs to be in Tomorrowland. And you see the track, you see the entire structure there, and it's just so sad
Mm-hmm.
that it just doesn't exist in Disneyland.
Well, you can thank Mr. Eisner and Rocket Rods for that.
I think that Tomorrowland in general is like a non-event in Disneyland. Like you walk through this area to get to Space Mountain, but that's it. I mean, I did eat at Pizza Planet when I was just there because I was hungry and I needed something quick, and they have like a great DVC. If you're a DVC member, they have this like great deal on getting a pizza and a Caesar salad and a drink. So I did, and a tiramisu. So I did that. But overall, I think that Tomorrowland and Disneyland is just nothing.
We did go to the DVC lounge.
I was going to ask about that. So we'll close with that actually, because that's a huge difference between the two parks. The other knock I have on Tomorrowland is that bottleneck between Buzz and Star Tours, where it just narrows down there. It seems like it always gets so crowded there. It's shoulder to shoulder. I will say the entrance to Tomorrowland at Disneyland is much cooler than ours. You've got that, huge kinetic feel to it as you walk through, and you've got the Astro Orbiter up there. It's really, really cool. But then you get deep into it. The only reason we would truly go back there, I don't think their Autopia is anything to scream about, but they do still have 20,000 Leagues. I mean, it's got the Nemo workover, but it is still 20,000 Leagues, and it is still the original sub. So it's really cool to go back there for that and maybe to hop on the monorail. Other than that, I don't think there's any reason to go back into Tomorrowland at Disneyland.
Yeah. I mean,
honestly, I hope that they reimagine Tomorrowland for both parks, because I think both parks are in need of it. So
Definitely. Same.
I
I
hope
feel the
that
same way.
All
that
right. I'm sorry, Kath.
tomorrow brings a better Tomorrowland.
Tomorrow. All right, let's talk about the DVC lounge, because you want to talk about a big difference between lounges. Wow, it's like going from a DVC lounge to Club 33 when you walk into Disneyland. It's incredible.
They have
yeah,
bathrooms.
It's pretty big. They have
Yeah, there's
bathrooms.
bathrooms inside, which is awesome.
I like they have the outdoor area. Yeah, it was a big difference.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, you could tell there was a huge difference between that and going.
They have the model up there too, that you can see it was Disneyland, right? The Disneyland model. The resort.
Oh yeah.
The room.
The murals on the walls are absolutely beautiful. Having the original spacesuit costumes up there with the story from the 1950s is really cool. Mackenzie felt like she was a princess up on the viewing deck, being able to wave at everyone down in Tomorrowland as they were passing. And Scott hit the nail on the head. There's bathrooms actually inside the lounge, as opposed to having to hike all the way around Journey into Imagination to get to the men's room.
Huge difference.
All right. We actually, I think, got through it in 3 episodes.
Well, let's just real quick just talk a little bit about the nighttime shows.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like, we all are fans of Happily Ever After. I think Wondrous Journeys is amazing. I loved it. I think that, I don't know that I could pick either or. I think they're both great. To me, the freshest thing in my mind, and the thing that's like most newsworthy, is that Magic Kingdom just reintroduced their nighttime parade, Starlight. And after having been, I feel like having just been at Disneyland and seeing Paint the Night it definitely colored, no no pun intended, definitely colored the way that I saw Starlight. And I mean, I think that I probably would have felt this way about Starlight anyway, but I particularly feel this way about Starlight after seeing Paint the Night. Starlight just, to me, just feels boring. Like, the floats are beautiful, but the music is so nothing. And Paint the Night just has this, like, it's that Disney, like, original song. It stays with you. It makes you feel like you're watching this thing like a kid again. And it's just like, it inspires a sense of awe, whereas Starlight was just, it felt like a bunch of lit up floats going by to some nondescript song, like music in the background. And then it just felt like it ended abruptly. So, if we're comparing nighttime parades, Disneyland has it like there's no comparison whatsoever.
No comparison. I mean, I agree. Like, we just watched Paint the Night a week or so prior to watching the new show at Magic Kingdom, and
I think we kind of had our hopes up when we saw Paint the Night, and then it was a little bit of a letdown. Not like Amy said, not that it's terrible, because it's nice that they did it.
Yeah, it's definitely nice that they have something. But after just seeing Paint the Night a week prior, and that show, it's so catchy. You're like dancing and you're, and watching everything go by. I mean, it's fun.
It is.
And when I saw Starlight, it's pretty, but I don't know. Like, I feel bad saying it. I really feel bad saying it because I don't want to feel ungrateful, because I am glad that they have something. But just coming from Disneyland and seeing that,
Well, we watched Paint the Night from where we were close to where Small World is at,
yeah,
and I caught myself like stretching my neck around the corner just to see what the
what was
next.
coming next.
Yeah, because it was that exciting, like it was that catchy. And then I caught myself at Starlight just thinking, is this damn thing ever going to end? I just, it just didn't, it wasn't that catchy.
It's not catchy, and it's. I feel
Amy and I
really
talked
bad.
about this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the sounds and the shows and everything between.
Yeah.
Walt Disney World just phoned it in again. And I'm sorry to say that because I'm like you. I miss the nighttime shows. And for years, we've been saying we want a nighttime parade back. We want a nighttime parade back. They're like, yes, we finally got this new parade and it's going to be amazing and it's going to be awesome. And there's finally this kinetic energy and this excitement in Magic Kingdom at night. And then you see it, you see the videos of it and you go, oh, okay, well, maybe I'd just rather go back to my room and watch the electric water pageant from 1972.
I think what's so
Yeah.
weird to me about Starlight was that, and I wonder if it was an afterthought because they realized that this parade has no emotional tug at all. They started off with a the like not the parade, but like shortly before the parade begins, they play the intro to the Main Street Electrical Parade. And then they have some guy's narration, which is one of the Jiminy Cricket quotes from Wishes. And so I'm like, they're trying really hard to tug at our heartstrings and nostalgia without actually infusing it into this parade. And it just felt like a weird disconnect. Like they're just throwing it out there just to like throw something at us to be like, here's your nostalgia, folks. Now here's this boring parade.
I don't want to beat them up, but we've talked about this
Yeah, I
before.
don't.
So in order to get people back to loving Disney, we're going to go back and we're going to play the music from Baroque Hoedown from the Main Street Electrical Parade that premiered back in the 70s. And we're going to play the music from the water pageant that premiered in the 70s. And we're going to play the Jiminy Cricket music that was in Wishes from back in the late 80s and through the 90s. How did they lose sight so hard? Like they know what they're missing. What has brought the biggest cheers from Points of Light? It's the old Illuminations music. It's like they know they've lost something, but they have no concept of how to get it back. So they just keep recycling the old stuff to spark our nostalgia and then give us this mid performance.
But they know how to do it at Disneyland.
Yeah, if you bring Paint the Night to Disney World, people would go nuts. Like, I would watch that every night we were there.
I will say I agree with everything you guys are saying, but still the superior nighttime show in any place that you're talking about to me, and I think a lot of people would agree, is going to be Happily Ever After over everything.
I don't know. I love Happily Ever After. I love Happily Ever After. I really do. But I don't know that I would put it above Wondrous Journeys. I think they're so darn close in how much I love them.
Real quick about another show, we did watch Fantasmic at Disneyland as well, and I like Disney World's better. Way better.
Yeah, I think Amy and I touched on that. I think it's really cool to have it on the rivers, and I think it's a much neater show. But I think that the amphitheater at Hollywood Studios
Mhm.
lends itself so much better to theatrical performance that is Fantasmic.
What's the DCA show that I can't remember the name of?
Oh,
World of Colors.
yeah, that.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a disappointment.
So
for me.
I think that we watched not the same World of Colors that everybody talks about, because what we watched is definitely not what was described to us. And Cindy was with us at the time, and she said it was a completely different World of Colors that, she didn't even like it either. Like, she's like, this
Yeah,
is
I
really a
think that
shame.
I don't know if it's like a new one that they're doing for the 70th, but it's not the original
is.
World of Colors. And the World of Colors is so good. And it is that one like tugs at my heartstrings too.
I've got a
Yeah.
weird take on that one. I think World of Color is beautiful, but we watched it from the viewing deck at Grand Californian. And if you ever get a chance to watch it from the viewing deck at Grand Californian, don't just go down and see it from DCA because it's an awful experience from the viewing deck. They don't
Yeah.
pipe in the music. All you can hear is goofy Sky School underneath you. You're at a distance. You're craning your neck. Don't bother.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully,
that is a show that you need to be up close
yeah.
for, because otherwise you lose. Like, the scale is weird. Like, it's not impressive watching it far away. Like, you
And
need
you
it to
need
be
to be
big in
overwhelmed
front
by
of
the
you.
music, which you're not from the viewing platform.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was actually irritated they didn't pipe in the music. I'm like, you highlight this as one of the benefits of staying down here, and they don't even give you the music on the deck. It was ponderous to me.
Yeah, like Cindy didn't even want to watch it. She's like,
She said it was way different because
It's-
apparently the water catches fire, but ours didn't. This one was narrated. It was like the Inside Out,
yeah.
and she said it was way different.
So
from
hopefully
the
we can
original.
see the original that everyone talks about, whenever we go back. But I mean, I love the whole trip. I can't wait to go back and see stuff that we didn't get to see. Like Matterhorn was down, so we didn't get to ride that. So I definitely want to ride that. I want to see Small World at Christmas time.
If you don't like Space Mountain, just don't even bother with Matterhorn.
But well, it's just the experience of riding it at least once. But
You want to be able to say that you had your back broken
Yeah.
on the Matterhorn at least once.
But I can't say enough about Paint the Night, that parade, and Tapestry of Lights, or Happiness. Like, there's just so many. As much as I love Disney World and I like some things better here, I think the love for Disneyland is different. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a different type of feeling.
It's more
there.
personal.
Yes.
Well, and when I try to my new way to try to explain to people the difference between Disney World and Disneyland is that, like, Disney World is kind of like New York City. New York City has all these different boroughs. It has the Bronx, it has Queens, it has Staten Island, it has Manhattan, and they're big and expansive, and you have to take transportation to get to point A to point B. I feel like Disneyland is a little bit more like it's like a smaller, more walkable city. It's like not one where you need to be taking transportation everywhere. You just like that's something about Disneyland that I love is that you
New York
literally
versus
never have to get
Boston
on
without all the
transportation.
attitudes and bad smells.
Yeah. But you never have to, like, you never are waiting. Part of your experience in Disneyland is never waiting for transportation. Whereas in Disney World, you're waiting for transportation for like every day at some point.
I always say that the more time I spend at Disney World, the more I miss Disneyland. And the more time I spend at Disneyland, the more I miss Disney World. But the more time I spend at Disney World in the last 5 years, the more I'm becoming a Disneyland person.
Yeah. Well, this past experience that I had there, and I think that because the weather was also just so spectacular, I was like, wow, I could really see Disneyland becoming my like regular park that I would go to every year, just because it just feels like such a more laid back vibe. I feel like there's less chaos, less sense of urgency, less like effort. There's so much effort that is put into a Disney World vacation that you don't have at Disneyland.
I mentioned it to Scott that while we were there, that the one thing that I noticed, I didn't hear arguing. I didn't hear people bickering, fighting. And I think the weather has a lot to do with that. People here, it's packed, it's hot, it's sweaty, people are cranky. It's like so busy, you're tired, you have to rope draw. Like,
I agree, but I
It's like
think
you're
Amy's
running
point
for a
factors
bus.
into that as well. Is I would venture to say that probably 30% of people, maybe more, but at least 30% of people at Walt Disney World have not started planning 6, 8, 12 months in advance. And a lot of the bickering we hear is because someone could not get a dinner reservation. Someone did not know it was going to take so long to get from A to B. Someone did not make the proper fast passes. That gets ruled out at Disneyland. It's not a factor. So that's a huge stress point for a lot of families that just doesn't exist there.
mm-hmm.
Well, and something that I learned on this trip is when I was, I tried to make my dining reservation 60 days in advance, and like everything was booked. What I figured out is that they I think that they only open a very small number of reservations that much in advance because the day of, you can almost get a reservation. It seems like I could get a reservation anywhere. And I think it's because it is a locals park. They want to be able to make sure that they're accommodating locals who might be deciding on a whim, like, oh, let's go to Disneyland today, so that they can get a reservation. And it's the same reason why you're not booking your lightning lanes a week in advance. You're doing it the second you get into the park because as a locals park, you don't know what your plans are for this weekend, and you might decide last minute, let's go to Disneyland. And if you want to get Lightning Lane,
Yeah.
you didn't. It's not like you missed out on the booking window a week ago. It's because you can't book it until you get in the park. So there's so much about it that, again, it's like it. There's not that sense of urgency and that sense of needing to be on top of everything that adds to the stress level. It's it's a much more laid back experience. And I
For
do
sure.
think that not needing to fold up double strollers and get them onto a bus or get them onto a Skyliner or, and missing the bus. And then, like
Yeah.
that adds a level of stress to vacations too. So, like in Disneyland, it's like you're ready to go. Even if you're not staying at a Disney resort, you've got the Harbor Boulevard hotels right across the street. Like you are at your hotel within minutes. So it just makes it a much more manageable type of trip versus Walt Disney World, which can be, it can be a lot in that heat and the navigating and the app and the reservations.
Well, just like Scott said, you want to say what you told me. It's like Disneyland is, it's far away from us. And, for us living here in Florida, we have Disney World 30 minutes down the road. So going to Disneyland isn't going to be an every year thing for us when we have World right here. So, but I still would I still want to go back.
And the other thing that I said too was it's since we've become DVC members, I've transitioned from being a parks guy to being a resort guy. And that's the one thing that I love about Walt Disney World. I mean, people complain about it because more resorts equals more people and it gets more crowded, but I just love all the different resorts. And that's what we like to do. I think we kind of tend to go more toward the resorts and just kind of hang out and enjoy those rather than go to the parks. So, I mean, that's one positive that I really enjoy about Disney World over Disneyland. I mean, there's more hotels there, but the two that are, technically on property there are really cool. But I don't know. I love everything about the Disney World hotels that are here.
And Disneyland doesn't have Epcot.
Yes, that is true. But Disney World is much more of a bubble. I mean, Disneyland, you walk out and you've got Harbor Boulevard and you've got everything that comes with being in a city. And so you don't get the bubble feel in Disneyland that you do in Disney World.
Agreed. Does that wrap us up finally for Disneyland?
I think.
Shout out to UCI for taking care of my medical condition. I had a nice little blood clot when I got off the airplane, so shout out to UCI. Speaking of getting right out of Disneyland and being right in the city, you're right there.
Yeah.
Well, on that positive and uplifting note.
Yeah.
Urgent care for the win.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for hopefully listening all the way through all 3 episodes, as Parker doesn't like something, as we talked about the trip to Disneyland. As you can probably tell, I think we're all quickly becoming Disneyland people. We'll see what that means for Walt Disney World in the future. But in the meantime, if you guys could head on over to Apple Podcasts, give us a like, a 5-star review, we'd appreciate it. Amy?
And don't forget that if you're on an airplane for extended periods of time, you should get up and walk around so you don't get a blood clot in your leg. And if you want to hear more tips like that, be a part of the conversation, please join us on Facebook at DVC Clubhouse. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
Started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.